was involved in an altercation as well that resulted in critical injuries, and he's on disabled as well. And then, through the chair, I know you wanted an update on a recent incident that was reported in the news regarding a retired detective where he was being evicted from his home, and the bailiffs found a locker with evidence from police homicide in his property involving a case. So I know we have Chris Grambling here, and I don't know if you can step up and kind of give a little update, but I know that one of the things, this happened prior to Chief Craig's tenure here, and I know we have things in place so that that doesn't recur again. But at this point, Mr. Grambling, if you could, step up and update the community with whatever you can.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Chris Grambling. I'm the Director of Professional Standards and Constitutional Policing here at the Detroit Police Department. So what we found was this particular officer, who's been retired for a number of years now, was being evicted from his house. And what we have found, the landlord had hired people to come remove some of the property. And so when they were removing the property and throwing it into a dumpster, someone noticed an evidence tag, and that's what brought it to our attention. Unfortunately, they had already done quite a bit of work, so officers had to get into the dumpster, recover any paperwork, anything that they found within that house. That's been brought back to the Detroit Police Headquarters. We've sorted out all the paperwork, looked at to see what evidence, if any, was found there. And what we found is he had at least portions of at least 16 cases in his house. Not evidence of all of them, some just paperwork, the file, but we have found some pieces of evidence there, and to include some cell phones that were in evidence, some clothing that was in evidence, and at least one handgun that was in evidence. So we're going through that right now. We're processing that to figure out what cases have been closed, if any of them had gone to trial. If they weren't closed, what status those are in. And so we've been going through that the last several days. We've been in contact with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office to talk about what case files we are talking about. And this goes back a number of years. I don't have all of the case numbers to memory right now, but I think the furthest back that I remember one going was 1997. And so it's a 97-year case file, all the way up, I believe this particular officer left homicide at around 2008. So that's the span we're looking at right now. No, it's not a good news story, but what we're doing is going through and finding out what the status is of those investigations, and to see if anyone was either brought to trial on it, and then we'll be informing the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office about that.
Thank you, sir, for that update.
And before you leave, just to update the community as well, as far as the investigation out of number 6, I know that the chief reported out on it at the last board meeting, but involving Officer Steele. Without going into any particulars or anything like that, we are moving forward with that investigation. We're moving forward with it swiftly, and if there's anything that you may want to add.
Sure. So anyone who's aware of this situation, this is the officer who posted the Snapchat video back on January 29th. And I believe at the last board meeting, Chief Craig said that we were trying to wrap up this investigation within approximately 2 weeks. That 2 weeks would be tomorrow. We're very close. We have spoken to, I believe, at this point we have conducted over 50 interviews as part of our internal affairs investigation, and we have spoken to the 2 officers who are the subjects of that investigation as well. I believe we still have about 4 or 5 people we want to talk to tomorrow, but we're on track, I think, for wrapping up that investigation very shortly here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes my report, and for the community, Commander Decker will be given a report pertaining to crime stats and other things that are going on in the 9th precinct. Thank you.
Any question or concern for
Yes.
the Deputy Chief?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Deputy Chief, Question, as it relates to officers in the past having access and taken custody of evidence, is there an investigation to make sure there's not a lot of other evidence out there that could adversely affect our citizens?
We have procedures in place right now that Chief Craig started that it's a checklist that before a member retires or gets assigned out or moves on, that they have to turn that evidence in. They're not allowed to take it home, period, or anything like that. That's completely a violation of department policy. In regards to every possible thing that could have happened in the past, because we weren't aware of this, we are looking at it, and we'll see what we're able to find. But as far as, since Chief Craig has been there, we're confident that it hasn't happened. But with this being a new development with this one situation, we're going to look at all avenues to make sure that it wasn't any other members at that time that participated in that practice. So we are doing a thorough investigation, and we'll be able to report to the board as to what our findings are, because we definitely are very, very concerned when it comes to that type of behavior.
We look forward to getting those findings.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I apologize. I was not here last week when everyone spoke out about the outrage regarding the officers in the 6th precinct. And part of our duty under Section 7.7-803 is that the board will act as final authority in imposing or reviewing discipline of any employee. And at this time, I move that we schedule a hearing to review whatever the police chief has regarding Officer Steele and his partner, so that we can make a determination.